Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is retesting this important level on the chart while a new signal flashes in the short term that usually only happens just before a significant price movement. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Definitely stick around. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart. And right now, as I've also said over the last few days, we're looking very neutral in the shorter term in terms of the momentum, because first of all, the daily Bitcoin RSI is pretty much trading sideways, while the MACD is also slowing down, and the histogram within the MACD indicator is moving towards the zero level, moving towards a bullish cross, but it is not there just yet. So these are both neutral signals in the somewhat shorter term here on the daily Bitcoin chart, which means not much has changed over the last 1 to 2 days here on this chart, on this time frame. So if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about what's happening here, then check out my last 1 to 2 videos here on the channel. But anyway, now zooming into the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, and right now, as of recording this video, this technical price target at around 24.1k is technically still in play because we have not yet seen a confirmed breakout back above 27.5k, because as I've said this entire time, 27.5k is the invalidation point for this bearish price target, which means if we confirm a breakout back above that level, then that would invalidate this break to the downside and invalidate this price target for this pattern. But obviously in the more shorter term, over the last 1 week or so, we have been seeing a lot of choppy sideways price action, basically taking a pause from this bearish price action, which is also what I've been talking about in the imminent short term here on the smaller time frames, like the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. Obviously, over the last half a week or so to nearly 1 week now, I've been talking about how we're looking very neutral in the short term, not overly bullish or overly bearish, meaning I would be expecting some choppy sideways price action within this sideways price range. And this is due to the fact that the 4-hour Bitcoin price oscillators are currently showing almost no momentum. First of all, the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI is basically chopping around sideways in the middle of the RSI around that 50 level, while the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD is also doing something very similar. It's almost completely flat, showing very low momentum to either direction. And now, if you want to know how to make a lot of money in crypto during a choppy sideways price range like this, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more, because you can actually make quite a lot of money during this type of price action. But anyway, this indicator right here is of course the Bollinger Bands indicator, and right now here on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, we are currently seeing a squeeze in the Bollinger Bands indicator. And usually what this means is that we're just about to see a significant move in the price of Bitcoin, some sort of volatile movement in the Bitcoin price. Because for example, if you're looking at the last few times where we saw a major squeeze in the 4-hour Bitcoin Bollinger Bands, these squeezes occurred just after we saw very low volatility, just after a consolidation range, but then just around the corner was a significant volatile movement, like what we saw during around the middle of April. As we could see here, first of all, in the first half of April, we saw very low volatility with the price basically trading sideways, and then eventually the Bollinger Bands started to squeeze together, and not long after that, we saw that significant move to the upside, almost straight to the upsides. And if you're looking at this second example, that happened right at the end of April. What we saw here was, first of all, a sideways consolidation range where the price almost went perfectly sideways, but just around the corner, only a few days later, we saw a significant movement in the price of Bitcoin, a sharp move almost straight to the downside that was around a $1,000 to $2,000 movement. And so basically right now, with these Bollinger Bands squeezing again, we are due to see some sort of volatile move in the price of Bitcoin, potentially in the coming days, because usually when we see this squeeze in the Bollinger Bands, it usually takes a few days until we actually see that volatile movement begin. And it is important to understand that the Bollinger Bands indicator itself does not actually tell us the direction of the move beforehand. It simply just tells us that a volatile move is not far away. And in order to determine the direction of that volatile movement, we need to pay attention to our support and resistance levels. Obviously, if the price of Bitcoin starts breaking below key support, then that would signal a bearish volatile movement. But on the flip side, if we start to see the price of Bitcoin begin to break above key resistance, then obviously that would help to signal a volatile movement starting to the upside. And right now, these areas of support and resistance have not changed over the last few days. So we still have support in between around 26.2k to 26.6k and resistance in between around 27.3k to 27.7k. And now if you zoom further into this 4-hour Bitcoin chart, we can see this smaller symmetrical triangle pattern, which over the last one day, we have seen a break to the downside below this line of support. And right now, as I'm recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is currently retesting this previous line of support to potentially now flip it into new resistance. And if we see this retest confirm as a successful retest, meaning the price confirms a rejection from that level, then obviously in that case, that would further confirm this break to the downside and would be a shorter term bearish signal. And in that case, that would actually confirm this technical price target at approximately 25.2k. And now, technically speaking, that price target at 25.2k is currently active with one confirmation with this break to the downside. But obviously, it's just important for the price to actually confirm this retest now that we are seeing a retest, because if we actually see this retest fail and the price of Bitcoin breaks back above around 27,000, then in that case, that would actually invalidate this small break to the downside and invalidate this pattern. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart. And right now, as I'm recording this video, the price of ETH is still trading in this sideways price range in this area of support, sitting in between around 1770 to 1820. And as of right now, the daily Ethereum price oscillators are still looking very neutral, as I've also been talking about over the last few days. So obviously not much has changed over the last few days here on the daily time frame. So if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about what's happening on this chart, then check out my last 1 to 2 videos. But anyway, now zooming into the shorter term, this is on the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart. And right now, as I'm recording this video, the Bollinger Bands here on this time frame are squeezing together, which is really the first time we've seen this since all the way back up here, right here, and back here. And obviously, all of these previous examples came just before a significant movement in the price of ETH. First of all, this example that we saw around the 10th to 11th of April came just after we saw a little bit of a short-term pullback and a small consolidation range. Then obviously the Bollinger Bands began squeezing together, and not long after that we saw a volatile movement in the price of ETH. And then obviously we saw a very similar thing around a week later during the middle of April. Once again, we saw a sideways consolidation range, which resulted in the Bollinger Bands squeezing together, and just around 1 to 2 days later, we saw an extremely volatile move begin in the price of ETH. And we also saw something very similar to that towards the end of April. Once again, we saw a sideways consolidation range into a very tight price range, which resulted in the Bollinger Bands squeezing together. And not long after that, within around a day after that squeeze, we saw a short-term volatile move in the price of ETH. Now, obviously, that movement wasn't as significant as these examples, but we still ended up seeing a very sharp movement, at least in the short term, that quickly took the price of ETH from nearly $2,000 all the way down to around 1.8k. And once again, it is important to understand that this squeeze in the Bollinger Bands indicator is not necessarily bullish or bearish, because it does not actually tell us whether the price is going to perform that volatile move to the upside or to the downside beforehand. It simply just tells us that a volatile movement is coming very soon, potentially at some point within the next couple of days. And as I said earlier in the video, in order to help determine the direction of that volatile move, we need to keep an eye out on these support and resistance levels, because obviously if we start to see breaks below key support, then in that case, that would be a strong signal signal pointing towards that volatile move beginning in the bearish direction. But on the flip side, if we start to see confirmed breaks back above key resistance, then of course that would be a strong signal pointing towards that volatile movement now beginning in the bullish direction. And as for support and resistance here on the 4-hour time frame, we have a little bit of horizontal support at around 1790 approximately, and below that level we have this support at around 1760, and below that we have this area of support in between 1.7k to 1730. And as for resistance, we still have this price range in between 1830 to 1850. Above that we have this level of resistance at around 1880 to 1890, and above that we have this area of resistance in between around 1920 to 1950. And right now, as for the momentum and the trend in the short term, I'm still very much neutral, expecting mostly choppy sideways price action for a little longer, because at least as of right now, if you're looking at the 4-hour Ethereum price oscillators, these are looking extremely neutral. First of all, the RSI is chopping around sideways, while the MACD is almost completely flat, showing no momentum to either direction. But as I said earlier, due to the squeeze now in the Bollinger Bands indicator, this could soon change in the next few days once we eventually see either a confirmed break below key support or above resistance. And now zooming further into this 4-hour time frame, we can see this symmetrical triangle pattern that I have been mentioning over the last few days. And obviously just over the last one day, we have seen an initial break to the downside, but right now, as of recording this video, the price of ETH is attempting a retest. And as I said earlier, for Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, if we end up seeing a breakout back above these levels, so back above around 1820, then in that case, that would invalidate this break to the downside and invalidate this pattern. But of course, we need to see a confirmed break back above that level with candle closes, like 4-hour candle closes, or ideally some daily candle closes back above around 1820 in order to pretty much invalidate this pattern altogether. So essentially, in order to play out this pattern and play out the bearish price target that we technically should have if we confirm this rejection, then we need to see a quick rejection here, a confirmed retest, flipping this previous support into new resistance. And in that case, if we can confirm multiple 4-hour candle closes in the red, a strong rejection from that level, then that would further confirm this technical price target at approximately 1.7k. But considering the price is still in the middle of this retest, we just need to wait and see if we can confirm this retest, because obviously right now is a critical moment. This is a make or break moment for this pattern in the short term. And now, if you want to know how to make a lot of money in crypto, even during a choppy sideways price range like this, then make sure to check out these videos popping up right here on your screen. First of all, the video in the bottom left shows you how to make money in a choppy sideways price range like right now, and the video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is trending either bullish or bearish. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.